Welcome back to Kdramas Decoded, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of your favorite K-drama. Episode 2 of Flex X Cop Season 2 picks up right where the previous episode left off, with Jin I Soo and Hyra trapped in an increasingly dangerous situation. The vehicle carrying them is seconds away from being completely submerged, and there is also a bomb inside. With barely any time to react, I Soo and Hyra jump out of the vehicle just before it disappears beneath the water. Moments later, the bomb explodes. The incident confirms that the attacks against I Soo are becoming more serious. This isn't simply someone trying to scare him anymore. Someone is going to extraordinary lengths to get close to him, and the police still have no idea who is behind it. After the explosion, Junyoung and Kyungjin take I Soo to a safe house. But this isn't some random hiding place. The safe house happens to be Hyra's house. Junyoung stays behind to keep an eye on I Soo, while Kyungjin returns to the police station so he can help with the investigation. The situation immediately becomes a media storm. News of the explosion spreads, and reporters gather outside Gangha police station demanding answers. The problem is that this is already the third attempted attack connected to I Soo. Mr. Park therefore makes a major decision. He places the investigation under an embargo. In other words, the police aren't going to release details about what happened. They don't want the bomber to learn how much evidence the police have, and they certainly don't want the media interfering with an investigation that is already becoming increasingly dangerous. Meanwhile, Hyra and the rest of the team start going through whatever footage they can find. They examine CCTV from the launch event and also check the cameras around the station's parking lot. They're hoping to identify someone suspicious or find a vehicle connected to the attacks. But unfortunately, nothing immediately stands out. It feels as though whoever is behind everything has planned each move carefully. And then the situation takes another terrifying turn. While I Soo is staying at Hyra's house, he receives another message. This time, the sender sends him a photograph of Mr. Choi. He's tied up. The mysterious person then gives I Soo another set of instructions. He has to go to the specified location alone. If I Soo brings the police with him, Mr. Choi will be killed. For I Soo, this is exactly the kind of situation the bomber wants him in. He has to choose between following the instructions and risking his own life, or involving the police and potentially getting someone else killed. Eventually, I Soo makes his decision. But Junyoung doesn't realize what's happened until it's too late. He wakes up and discovers that I Soo is gone. He immediately tries calling him. There is no answer. Junyoung knows something is wrong, so he contacts Kyungjin. Using the available information, they track I Soo's car. The location leads them to the I Soo family estate. Hyra also races toward the estate on her motorcycle, while Junyoung follows behind. But I Soo has already arrived. And he discovers that this situation is even more complicated than he thought. Instead of finding Mr. Choi, I Soo encounters the assistant director of the reality show. The assistant director has also received a disturbing message. Except his threat involves his mother. He has been sent a photograph showing his mother tied up, along with an order. He must film I Soo's death. If he doesn't, his mother will supposedly be killed. So now I Soo and the assistant director are both being manipulated by the same mysterious enemy. They head into the family house together, desperately searching for Mr. Choi. But there is no sign of him. Instead, the assistant director discovers something much more frightening. A bomb. And there are only 50 seconds left on the countdown. I Soo immediately thinks of the bunker. He knows the family estate has a secure bunker, so he quickly opens it and gets himself and the assistant director inside. For a moment, it seems like they've managed to escape. The countdown reaches 0. But nothing happens. The bomb doesn't explode. That should be a relief. Instead, I Soo realizes something is wrong. The person targeting him knew about the bunker. And if the bomber knew about the bunker, then there is a very good chance they prepared for I Soo to hide there. Sure enough, there is another bomb inside. This one has only 20 seconds remaining. There is no time to escape properly. The bomb detonates just as Hyra arrives at the estate. The explosion tears through the bunker. Fortunately, I Soo and the assistant director survive. The police immediately swarm the estate. And then another strange detail emerges. Mr. Choi arrives safely. The assistant director's mother is safe as well. So neither of the people supposedly being held hostage was actually in danger. The bomber had used deepfake technology to create the photographs and manipulate I Soo and the assistant director into coming to the estate. This changes everything. The person behind the attacks isn't simply trying to kill people. They're controlling the victims through deception. And Hyra begins to suspect that the attacks may have another purpose entirely. She comes up with a plan. If the bomber is watching the estate, then the police can use that to their advantage. They decide to fake the deaths of both I Soo and the assistant director. The assistant director is sent to hide in a nearby motel, while Mr. Choi takes I Soo back to his own house. The idea is to make the bomber believe that the latest attack succeeded. At the same time, the forensics team begins examining the unexploded bomb. And finally, they get their first real piece of evidence. A partial fingerprint. It isn't enough to immediately solve the case, but it's enough to give the investigators somewhere to start. Meanwhile, I Soo and Mr. Choi begin thinking about the bigger question. Who would go to this much trouble to kill I Soo? Mr. Choi points out something important. If the bomber's only goal was to kill I Soo, why make everything so complicated? They could have simply planted a bomb at his house. Instead, the bomber has repeatedly created elaborate scenarios. They've used fake hostages. They've used deepfakes. They've manipulated I Soo into traveling to specific locations. And they've even gone to the trouble of planting multiple bombs. I Soo then remembers something his brother told him. Maybe the person behind the attacks isn't motivated by revenge. Maybe they're driven by desire. That changes the way I Soo looks at everything. He also remembers something strange about the bunker explosion. When the bomb went off, it didn't simply destroy the room. It left a hole in the floor. And suddenly, I Soo begins to wonder whether the bunker itself was the real target. Back at the police station, the fingerprint results finally come through. The partial print belongs to Kang Hyun, an employee working in R&D at Murray Electronics. He has no criminal record. At first glance, he doesn't seem like the type of person who could be behind such an elaborate series of attacks. But the police can't ignore the evidence. Junyoung and Kyungjin head out to bring him in. At the same time, Hyra is going over all of the bombing incidents again. And she reaches a crucial conclusion. The bomber wasn't actually trying to kill I Soo. I Soo comes to the same realization. The question now becomes, if I Soo isn't the true target, what is the bomber actually after? And more importantly, why does I Soo have access to it? The investigation takes another major turn when Hyra contacts the director of the filming crew. She learns that the idea to create a feature about I Soo didn't originally come from the director. It came from the assistant director, Jang Hyunwoo. And that name immediately stands out. Because Hyunwoo is Jang Hyun-suk's brother. Suddenly, the fingerprint isn't an isolated clue anymore. There is a connection. Hyra sends an officer to check Hyunwoo's motel room. But when they arrive, he's already gone. Now the police know they're dealing with two brothers who may have been working together. Hyra and I Soo eventually meet outside the family estate. By this point, I Soo has already figured out the most important part of the puzzle. There was no way someone could have planted bombs both inside the house and inside the bunker without knowing exactly what was inside the estate. The bunker wasn't an escape route. It was the destination. Hyra has also uncovered information about the brothers' family. Their family used to live at the same address as their mother, who died 5 years earlier. And this leads them to an old secret surrounding the I Soo family estate. I Soo remembers something Mr. Choi told him. Many years ago, an extremely wealthy family had owned the estate. But around 30 years earlier, their family business collapsed. They were forced to sell the house to I Soo's father. Now everything begins to make sense. The Jang brothers aren't after I Soo. They're after something hidden underneath the estate. And I Soo is the only person who can open the bunker because of the fingerprint scanner. That explains the elaborate attacks. They needed I Soo to access the bunker for them. They needed him alive. And they needed him to believe he was being targeted. Meanwhile, the Jang brothers are already inside the bunker. They are extremely excited as they finally discover what they've been searching for. They find a large chest and begin hauling it out. After everything they've done, they believe their family's fortune is finally within reach. They imagine leaving their jobs, becoming wealthy, and starting a completely different life. But their dreams don't last long. Because waiting for them are I Soo and Hyra. The brothers are caught red-handed and taken into custody. The mysterious chest is confiscated. And now the police finally get the full explanation. While being questioned, the brothers reveal that their father had told them something on his deathbed 2 years earlier. According to him, their family had once owned the estate. And somewhere inside the property was their family's most valuable possession. He instructed his sons to get the house back. At first, the brothers didn't believe him. It sounded like the kind of thing someone might say while dying. But during the funeral, they heard relatives talking about the chest. That convinced them there really was something hidden inside the estate. So they created their elaborate plan. They needed I Soo. They needed access to the bunker. And they needed to make sure nobody realized what they were actually searching for. Unfortunately for them, the chest doesn't contain the fortune they were expecting. Instead, it contains something far more damaging. Evidence that their own family collaborated with Imperial Japan. The treasure they've spent years dreaming about turns out to be a collection of incriminating historical evidence. Their hopes of becoming rich instantly disappear. After the case is solved, the filming crew turns the entire incident into a case report. And this time, I Soo gets to be the narrator. The report becomes extremely popular and gains a huge number of views. I Soo is absolutely thrilled. For someone who loves attention as much as he does, becoming the face of a successful police case is basically the perfect outcome. His excitement gets even bigger when Mr. Park tells him that a new team leader will be joining them the following Monday. I Soo immediately starts imagining what the new team dynamic will look like. And when Monday finally arrives, he goes completely overboard. Instead of giving the new team leader a normal welcome, I Soo organizes an elaborate ceremony. He's excited, energetic, and clearly expecting the new arrival to be someone who will fit perfectly into the team. But then Hyra walks through the door. I Soo's expression changes almost immediately. Because Mr. Park introduces her as the team's new leader. And suddenly, all of I Soo's excitement about welcoming the new boss disappears. The episode ends with this unexpected shakeup. After spending the entire case trying to figure out who was behind the attacks, I Soo now faces an entirely different problem. Hyra isn't just someone who has been working alongside the team. She's now his new team leader. And considering the tension and complicated dynamic between the two of them, this new arrangement is bound to cause plenty of trouble. Episode 2 therefore wraps up the bombing mystery while setting up the next major storyline for the team. What initially looked like a deadly revenge plot turns out to be an elaborate treasure hunt, with I Soo unknowingly being used as the key to unlock the bunker. The Jang brothers wanted what was hidden inside. Instead, they uncovered their family's darkest secret. And just when I Soo thinks things are finally going his way, Hyra's arrival completely changes the game. Now, he has to figure out how to deal with having the woman who has already challenged him repeatedly become the person officially in charge of him.